do 20, 30 seconds, which would be totally convincing. And that's the worst it'll ever be. It'll get better and better and better and better and better. The story is really simple. You just mention other people. That's it. Because the audience are concerned about their relationship with other people. And so you start talking and the human brain goes, yeah, but how do I connect? What's my relationship with other people? Is this possible? Can you do this? Could you put that on YouTube? Would people watch it? Would they like it? Would they comment? I mean, that's the reality. You are partly them. So when they die, it's like, damn, that's a bit of me that in that physical form outside of me is now gone.
Hi, if I could just have 45 seconds of your time for 2 quick points before we begin this episode. The first is thank you. Thank you for listening or watching this episode of The Leadership Standard. It means the world to us. We have a passion for what we're doing here. And the second thing is, if you haven't already, we'd ask you to subscribe so we can continue to bring the most influential, relevant, and inspiring leaders in the world of small to medium-sized business across Canada and the world. Thank you. Welcome to The Leadership Standard. I'm Jamie Mason Cohen. Today's guest is Mark Bowden, one of the most original thinkers I know on communication, trust, influence, and what it really takes to stand out every time you speak. Mark has spent his career helping leaders around the world win trust and credibility through the way they show up, not just through their words, but through their presence, their movement, their choices, and the feeling they create in the room. In this conversation, we go somewhere I did not expect. We talk about AI avatars, authenticity, and the strange new question every leader is going to have to ask and face. In a world where technology can copy your face, your voice, your message, and maybe even some version of your personality, what still makes you, you? Mark argues that as AI is becoming more convincing, real human presence may become the premium experience. We also explore what makes a story work in business. And Mark offers one of the simplest and most useful storytelling ideas I've heard. And near the end of our conversation, Mark shares a lesson from one of his mentors that has stayed with me for years. In an age of noise, complexity, AI, and endless options, leadership still requires the courage to choose what matters, make it visible, and not dilute it. This is a conversation about communication, technology, storytelling, mentorship, and the future of human trust. It's a treat and an honor to bring to you my conversation with Mark Bowden. Hey, Mark. Always good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. I'm going to see you even better once I've got these glasses on. Yeah, now I can see you there.
Nice.
Now I can see you even better. I can't see anybody on a screen without these.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, I'm addicted to these. It's funny. My mom saw a little clip on social media, and she said, "Honey, I have one critique." I said, "What? What?" And she said, "Those glasses look cheap. You need." She said, "If you use." I was moderating a tech
Yeah.
event, and she said, "If you," I said, "I just had them on for a minute to read someone's name." She said, "It doesn't matter. You need to buy nicer glasses." She's right. She's right.
and so have you? Are those the nicer ones or the cheaper ones?
No, these are the 50 ones at Shoppers, which I have to upgrade. I did the eye test, so
Yeah.
I know what I need. I just have to go pay the upgrade.
Yeah. And frames are not cheap. Lenses are not cheap. And so what I had to do, so I have 3 pairs of these. Again, so if I like lose a pair, I've got another pair. And what did I do? Originally, I bought some frames that really seem to have gone out of manufacture, and so, so I have to hunt them down so the frames will always be the same.
Well, thanks for making the
Oh, my
time again.
pleasure.
What stayed the same in your messaging and your presentations over the last 12 years since we met, and what has
Oh,
evolved?
well, I mean, the core piece on gesture planes has been the same for 20 years, and it's never going to change. That's because it's utterly unique. Nobody else had that idea. Nobody else wrote that idea down. I mean, nobody else had that idea or wrote it down. And I'm not going to throw, I don't know whether this is the right thing to say, but the baby out with the bathwater on that. It's truly unique. Nobody else came up with it. Nobody else teaches it how I teach it. Though other people have incorporated the idea and they've called it a different thing to and it's okay, that's all okay, to try and disguise that they're using that idea, but it's a phenomenal idea and that hasn't changed. And just everything revolves around that. So quite a bit changes, but the core of it, and that stuff I learned when I was 18 years old.
Can you tell more about that? Because I don't know the story behind
Yeah,
that.
so I was doing performing arts at Middlesex University. I met a guy called John Wright, who at the time still is one of the leading people in visual physical theatre in the UK. He started training me in this idea of gesture planes. Wasn't written down, wasn't clear where he got the idea from. He'd not really he'd got somewhat into it, but I pushed it even further about 3 years after learning it from him and started really refining it. And then when I came to and it worked brilliantly with actors, like actors hadn't come across it either. So when I brought it to actors, they'd be going, "Wow, why didn't I know this stuff?" Like, I don't know. I don't know why you didn't know it. It's like it was taught to me. I don't know who taught him. I have some ideas about who taught him, and I have some ideas about who gave it to him and to him and to him. I've started formulating some ideas of where I think the lineage comes from. But ultimately, when I then took this idea to business, nobody had ever come across it at all. That if you held your hands at a certain horizontal height, it would radically change the way people judge your data.
For those who don't know your work, can you summarize it in about 2 minutes?
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
planes?
well, I'll try and do even 15 seconds. Uh,
Okay.
that'd be hard for me. So here's the work. I help people all over the world to stand out, win trust, gain credibility every time they communicate. And I would say I mainly do that through the intervention of how people move and project themselves. So, what moving images are they forming for other people so that those moving images create an idea of that person and their content in another person's mind? And that idea and that feeling is then projected back onto the content. So, the content is the content. I don't know what that is, but you can create a feeling in somebody else's mind and an idea about that content primarily based on the way you're moving when you're presenting that content. That idea feels very, very real for another human being. And then they project that idea onto the content and they make it absolutely true and real to the extent that they will have a massive cognitive bias around that. And they'll skew numbers that you're telling them to fit their cognitive bias around it. But I also work on exactly what you might be saying as well. Because again, you can frame the content in a way that you're skewing people's biases about that content, that they'll rearrange the words that you actually say to fit that bias. I don't think that was 15 seconds, was it? Yeah.
Mark, you speak regularly around the world to different audiences. What are the common patterns you're seeing in individuals that they bring to you where they are struggling in the world of AI to win trust, gain credibility, and to speak
Yeah, it's a
persuasively?
brilliant area at the moment because of AI. So I guess you've noticed this, Jamie. Is is it getting harder now for you to tell what's real and what isn't real? Is it it's getting it's getting tougher, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
by the way,
Absolutely.
so and your audience know this is really me. But this is really yeah,
Y-
this is not an AI version of me, though I reckon for 20 or 30 seconds I could give you an AI version of me which would be about as good as me right now. And after 20 or 30 seconds, it would dissolve into uncanny valley for you, which is that really odd feeling where you go, I don't know, there's something not quite right about this. Okay. But at the moment, I think I could do 20, 30 seconds which would be totally convincing. And that's the worst it'll ever be. It'll get better and better and better and better and better, to the point where you'll only know that I am the real me answering your real question if I'm right in front of you live, face to face, in real life, and we've shaken hands beforehand, or whatever greeting we do where we might touch skin or get close enough to go, yeah, that's a real human being. And I put a drink in your hand, and it's a real drink. It's really cold or it's really warm, and I hear your real question and you hear my real answer to that. And so I think the important thing today is that is going to be the premium experience. And so listen, this is good. Like, this is really good. And this means we can get our message out to a vast audience over time and space. This was filmed in the past, essentially. We'll mainly in this be talking about the future. So this will be something that is being filmed now that will then go to being in the past, mainly talking about the future. And we're going to have to do that because that's the economics of the machine that we're using right now. But live face to face, way more expensive to get you and me live face to face, and an audience there as well. And you know what would happen there is we'd just be dealing with the now of the people there. And that's the premium experience, to see you now, to hear you now, and to deal with what's happening now for you. Like, that's going to become incredibly valuable for clients, for customers. That's where the big money will gravitate to. Though, of course, there's going to be big money in that scalable thing of the communication industrial tool of AI, but it's going to be trying to deal with, a low price, I think. How does it deal best with a low price audience? This is the live would be the high price audience. Give me some feedback on that, Jamie, because I don't often talk about this. What do you think of what I said there?
So what I would say to that, what it reminds me of, I was smiling as you were talking about something because I was asked to be on a podcast a few months ago, and I said, "Okay, I'll do it." And I get on the podcast and there was a very real looking person, and I realized after the second question that it was a avatar
Yeah.
of a person, and that I continued because it was so weird. And then I realized that at the 12-minute mark, the avatar said, "Thank you, Jamie. It was a pleasure to meet with you today." And then another person came on whose time was right after. And I was like, this guy's created an assembly line of avatars, and he had some kind of bot reach out to me. And I didn't know at any step of the process that this wasn't a real person. And I thought it's either genius or it's totally destroying his authenticity or credibility,
Yeah.
because I had such a weird taste afterward. I felt like I was tricked.
You know what? If it's good with you, let's talk about what happened there in that situation, because I'm really intrigued by that, and it's something I haven't talked about to audiences ever, and so I think it'd be be interesting on your and Vistage's time to to talk about this. So here's my first interesting premise about this. An AI version of me, an avatar version of me. Why isn't that me? Okay, that for me is the big question, and it's a bit of like, when robots sleep, do they dream of sheep? Okay, or when androids sleep, do they dream of sheep? But what? Why can't an AI version be me? Or at least here's what I'd say: it carries the spirit of me. Okay, it carries something about me that is truly me, because I've got an AI avatar, and for the right audience under the right economics who wouldn't be able to see me, or I wouldn't be able to send them a message, I believe it carries the spirit of me.
Hold on, hold on, hold on. Is that true?
Yeah.
There is a AI Mark Bowden out there
Yeah, yeah.
now
Well, I
that
mean,
I'm
it's
just
not
hearing
it's
about
not
this?
freely available, but I created it for a client because we were working on the idea of AI avatars being able to service clients or potential clients at a certain level. So this client of mine, it has people who will serve those clients, and some of those clients are there is a economic case for a real meeting. For some of those clients, there's an economic case for let's do it by Zoom. Okay. And for some clients, there's an economic case that says we can never talk to you ever. Okay. But the idea was, well, hang on, these people are getting left behind. What if we could deliver to them an AI avatar version of the client facing, person, and serve them actually quite well, given that they're not getting served at all. They're getting nothing from nobody. Okay. And so what would you have to deliver to them for them to go, you know what? Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sending that avatar. It was actually really quite helpful and quite fulfilling because actually nobody talks to me. Nobody will help me around this. And you go, yeah, I understand why nobody helps you. Like the economics don't work for anybody helping you. But if we give you an avatar, the economics work. So because of that, I created to help them. I went, here's my best go at an AI avatar. And actually, I just put some on LinkedIn just to test it out, and people were like, and I literally put in there, hey, this is an AI avatar. So it was in there, and people didn't even notice. They didn't go, oh, I saw that AI. They're like, yeah, I would never want to see your AI avatar. It's like you just spoke to it, like it was just talking to you. And I think it's because I managed to instill into it the spirit of me. So my question then is, Jamie, is why is that not me, or is it me?
I would put I usually agree with you on mostly everything. I think the one part that I would say yes and to is yes, it can almost replicate Mark Bowden, but that consciousness, whatever you want to call it, I would feel like there's something missing and I might not be able to describe what
Yeah.
that
So
is.
here's the thing. So I totally agree. I totally agree with you there. You're in the position where, look, we've known each other for a long time. We've gone out for dinner together. Or we've gone out with our wives together. You've come round to my home. So you know me really well. That's an expensive thing to happen. Like, we've invested in that relationship. Okay. So imagine, okay, so you're not in Canada. You can't invest in that relationship, and I can't invest in that relationship with you. But you do want some Mark Bowden, okay? But you can't afford it, and I can't afford to give it to you for free. So then, for me, there becomes an argument for if I deliver you the the synthetic version of me. Okay. Now, yes, it's never going to be as good as me. Okay. Let's just say that it's never going to be as good as me. But then the question becomes is can it still have the spirit of me and therefore be somewhat me? So I'm kind of interested in, and this is a little bit esoteric, but I think it's kind of useful for business, is is what is you, and how far do you extend? Like, oh, Jamie, you're an artist, okay? And I'm sure viewers have come across this with you. And so your work has an essence of you to it, but it's not you, but kind of is it? Like where do you end and the picture starts? Like, because and why this has a business context for me is, okay, so where does the business end and the product start? Or where does the management end and the workers start? Like, where are the boundaries on this?
Well, I think you're also from a theatrical
Yeah,
background as an
yeah,
actor, as a director in film. If you created the ultimate Mark Bowden avatar, you're creating in some ways, the way I see it, as a part of you, like a part of your identity. Although the part of you that I've seen over dinner with our wives or having one-on-ones conversations, it's still you. It's just this is a version of you that you're putting out
yeah.
there.
So look, net of all of this for me is when we come to AI, I think there is great, and the AI avatars, I think there's great hope in those, is that we can create digital versions of ourselves that function really, really brilliantly in the right market for the in the right place. And they carry a real essence of what we're trying to do or the organization is trying to do. They carry some real humanity with them, but they're not necessarily human. Like a film carries a lot of humanity, but it's not human anymore. It's on celluloid. It's a construct. Yeah. So, and here's my problem is people will easily demean the construct, especially when it comes to industrial tools. We had it with the Luddites saying these looms will be the death of us all. You know, even in the time of Archimedes and pneumatics, people were going, well, you know, this screw thing that will draw water from the well really fast, that'll be the death of human beings because they won't be around the well anymore having a good old chat. It's like, yeah, well, they won't be complaining about carrying the jars of water on their heads, but they'll be further up the pipeline having a good old chat about something better up there rather than the misery of having to walk all the way down to the well because we've created some an aquifer an aquatic system. It's like brilliant technology. So it's always technology is always a problem because we go, this will be the death of us, and when somebody like me comes along and go, well, it'll be the start of something incredible, a whole bunch of people go, yeah, yeah, but not this time. This time it will be different. And then I have to go, yeah, you would say that, but it's never turned out to be true that this time it'll be different. And they go, yeah, no, but this time it'll be different.
How do you make decisions about what you are going to invest or sublimate your energies into when it comes to the projects that you give your full
Yeah,
attention to?
that's a really good question, I think, because I wish my answer was, you know, especially as this is a, you know, going out to some people who are, you know, incredible in their businesses and really, you know, focused on their businesses. And my guess would be a lot of that is like, how do you plan? Like, how do you, you know, and I'm like, damn, I'm really bad at that. Really bad at that. You know, here's what we should be, here are the stats, and here's what we should be focusing on. I focus on what excites me and what helps other people. And if the two things go together, that's a perfect combination. But first of all, I've got to focus on what am I excited by? What do I think is really good? Kind of trusting that my audience is a lot like me. And it's very easy for us because we get, you know, put into this kind of expert realm. It's very easy to go, okay, well, I think I'm probably like nobody else because I've thought of all these ideas and nobody's thinking like me. And you have to go, no, I'm pretty ordinary. I mean, there is that aspect of me, fair enough. But actually, I'm I'm in the, you know, over 8 billion people out there. I'm pretty ordinary and and people will probably get excited by what I get excited about. I trust. I trust. So I focus on that. And then I find out, what did they find? Was it helpful? So look, I'm getting excited here with you about AI avatars, and I think I've got an idea about them that I'm not hearing other people talk about. And either at the end of this, people will put after this podcast, like, wow, that was really fascinating. I'm glad you guys talked about that. Or they'll go, that guy was a complete idiot. Why did you let him on, Jamie? And why didn't you shut him up? And you know, there'll be consternation about it. And but I'm probably not going to stop talking about AI avatars because it's I'm fascinated by it at the moment. I'm fascinated by it, and just having some time with you and thinking of you as an artist, and you going, "Hey, Mark, well, you've kind of been involved in theatre and film," and it's like, yeah, all these things are a vessel, they're an extension, there are, but you know, I'm still like you can see, my mind is still really attracted to picking apart that idea. And at this point, I don't know how helpful that is to people. So I'll be interested in feedback. People going, that was really helpful. You not really knowing what you're talking about, but giving it a go around that. So look, that's my thing. Am I excited by it? Am I fascinated by it? Is it helpful? And keep going in that direction.
Since we're on this theme, how else are you using AI now? And how are you not using AI? Where are you not using
Yeah,
it?
like I'm trying to use it a lot on everything just to go how will it fail and how will it succeed? Because I don't know until I try it. I mean, my background, we were talking earlier about my friend and mentor John Wright, who taught me most everything I know that now I, continue. And you'd constantly go, "Hey, John, do you think this would work and this would work and this would work?" And he'd go, "I don't know. We'd have to try it. We'd have to try it. We'd have to try it." It's like, yeah, it's like, don't make a judgment until you've tried it. Well, some things you maybe don't want to try because they might be a little bit fatal or expensive and fatal. Yeah. Well, for me, I'm like, I'm prepared to run at that wall and see and hit my head against it a few times and see, like, I'll take the hit on this. So, I look at a lot of stuff that I see in media people doing and thinking, wow, I was hitting my head against that wall 15 years ago. I started running at that and look where we are now. But I was running at that wall going, is this possible? Can you do this? Could you put that on YouTube? Would people watch it? Would they like it? Would they comment on that? Yeah, I'm prepared to take the risk around that. I would suggest other people try it as well. Like I've been taking risks around AI. Here's what I've found it does best for me is the people that are my that I use to help me, that I pay them to help me, and they're expensive people, and they should be because they're really good. I'm now asking them way better questions, I think. I'm feeling way better prepared for really valuable conversations with them. And they more often come back to me and go, "Hey, Mark, that's quite advanced." And I go, "Yeah, well, it's the way I'm thinking at the moment." Um, what it allows me to do, rather like the spell check helped me with, when I've got my first computer with spell check, because as you know, I'm really dyslexic and I wasn't able to write what I wanted to write. And then I got a spell check and it was like, whoa, we're off to the races because I'm now not concerned about spelling the words wrong. My syntax was still terrible and punctuation was didn't exist, but ultimately more words were correct. And so there was an advantage to that. Now I can give an AI my idea and go, here's the way I think the law could be on this. What do you reckon? And you have to put it through a bunch of AIs because the first one will go, Mark, you're brilliant. And it's like it's trying to stay friendly. It's like, no, okay, maybe I am. Let's give that to another AI that I've said really to be very negative about it. Okay. But through about 3 AIs, we can get to the point of, have I got a really good idea that we could then go to a professional with and go, here's what I'd like to do. What do you think? And here's some wording around it that might help you understand what I'm talking about, because I think the AI has already converted it into a language that you might better understand or might even trigger you with a bit of confidence that I might know what I'm talking about. I might even bias you to go, well, let's give this a go, Mark. It sounds pretty credible. Yeah. Okay. So we might all crash and burn on this, but hopefully it might not be too expensive or deadly. Anyway, it's helping me, I think, ask professionals better, better questions. If somebody were to say, what should I do with AI? I'd be saying, do that. Get more value out of your professionals with that.
Like even my father, who's an addiction counselor, gambling addiction counselor, and he wants to develop an app to help teenagers who are slowly becoming addicted because it's becoming an epidemic. This is something I wouldn't have had time for it even to explore, but there's so many user cases that it makes you feel the freedom to try to
Yeah.
experiment and to see where things go.
Well, I
So
love that. I
that's
love that thing that your dad
yeah.
said. Do you think there's a way? Because I just focus on that thing of Jamie. Do you think? And you, Jamie, do think like, but you've only got so much capacity, and you think it, but then can you make it and work out? Does it work with AI? You can go, yeah, I do think. I mean, it doesn't think actually. It doesn't, but we do. Like, it doesn't catastrophize. I was talking to a bunch of AI, uh, you know, engineers recently, and I was saying, "Hey, here's what I've noticed: is it doesn't the AI doesn't worry. Like I worry." And that seems to be the big difference between it and me is I worry. I go, hang on though, if I do that, this will happen and this could happen and this could happen. And when I tell it, when I go, hey, have you thought about the cause and effect of this? It's like, whoa, Mark, like, what? I didn't think of that. It's like, no, because you don't think, do you? But I do, and you do. And so, you know, you can be got to think and get something up off the ground and see whether your thinking is good or not. And if it's bad, like, think something else.
That's what I find. It's getting it off the ground. It's the great, it's such a helpful partner and assistant and sometimes coach all wrapped up in one. And I find it's a revelation, but I also find that there's areas that I see the difference. And this is what I wanted to ask you about storytelling. We've talked
Mm.
about this before. I've asked, what makes a good story in the age of
Yeah,
AI?
okay. So here's my theory and practice on storytelling. There are a whole bunch of people out there who've got lots of really good structures around storytelling. And just like you, Jamie, I was in, film and TV, and there are some very solid books written on three-act structure. Sid Field, it's been around for a while. You can just go back to the Greeks and go, here's how you tell a story. And then everybody is iterated on top of that, essentially. It's pretty complex, to be honest. I mean, it's even people who are simplifying it. I go, I'll never remember that in the moment. Like I'll never like, and why does there have to be a hero? It's like, and and ultimately, what that whole thing misses is that's a very Western centric way of telling story. Okay, you go to Bali and they're not telling stories like that. Their structures aren't linear; they're kind of spiral. I mean, the weird story structures in our sense. Okay, here's my theory on story. Story is really simple. You just mention other people. That's it. Because the audience are concerned about their relationship with other people. And so you start talking, and the human brain goes, yeah, but how do I connect? What's my relationship with other people? So the moment I go, listen, I was telling my brother just the other day, okay, about story structure. I was telling him because he's a poet, by the way, and he works with kids. The moment I call out my brother, yeah, and I tell you about him, notice how excited you get because you, Jamie, go, okay,
Yes.
you're maybe going, I can't remember whether you have a brother or not, or a sibling or a sister or not.
A
You have a
sister,
sister,
yeah,
okay.
sibling,
So
yeah.
so you start thinking about your relationships through my relationship through my brother. And you might go, hey, I don't have a brother, but I do have a sister. And oh, Mark's brother is a poet. Well, my sister is, and if not your sister, it's like, yeah, well, what's that? How's that with my work relationships? And you start to locate yourself because the brain is very concerned of like, am I located somewhere? Am I stable and located? And it does that through relationships. Story structures, all of those three-act structures or four-act or whatever structure it is, okay? Whether it's the hero's journey or some iteration that somebody's created around that, which is way too complex and you'll forget in the time of need. All they are vehicles for is relationships with other characters, other people. That's the only reason they exist. Yeah. The only reason in the hero's journey you meet the wise person is because it's another person. Or if it's an object, if it's the wise mug, they've objectified it into a mug, it's because you're sitting down with somebody else, or you're sitting drinking the tea, which reminds you of the relationships you have. They're just all excuses. All structure is an excuse to have a relationship with another person. That's it.
So what goes in there though?
Let's say that the Vistage member is up there and they want to give their vision to the people. Okay. What do they tend to do? It's up on a slide and they go, here is the vision. It's like, who cares? I mean, I want a relationship with people. I'm worried about my relationships. The moment that Vistage member goes, we were in a meeting yesterday, myself and John and Mohammed and Sasha, and we were talking about together about the vision. There were arguments, and I remember, John, you saying to me, so I've now mentioned 3 people, and suddenly I've got a story, okay? I could have just left it as I was in a meeting with this person and this person and this person. We talked about the vision. I've already turned it into a story because other people are involved. Here's what I tell my clients: you will win points every time you mention somebody else. I don't care who it is. I don't care. Doesn't matter.
Mm.
Doesn't matter because look, my clients are often working under extreme pressure. Well, they are. They're working under extreme pressure. They wouldn't buy me if there wasn't pressure. They buy somebody else who's way cheaper and will take a lot longer. Because they come to me and they go, so how do I tell a story? And I go, you just mention other people. They go, what else? You just mention other people. That's it.
Make other people the hero, right? Make other people the hero
I
in the
don't
story, even if you
I
don't want
don't
to call
care
them
whether they're
hero.
heroes or not. Like, I'm not even going to make it that difficult, Jamie, because then we have to go,
Yeah.
well, how do I make them a hero? No, just mention somebody else. If you start there, yeah, something will happen. But at the very least, you will have got to the point of story. The point of story is that we get to examine our own relationships with other people through the structure of the story, because the structure of the story causes the protagonist to meet other people. That's it. That's why story exists, so that a person can meet with other people and we can go, that's a bit like me and my mum. Because all that human being is that, like, the human being has their own conflict. If you mention somebody else, they will get engaged with you because they know that they exist in relationship with other people. Yeah. And of course, they exist within relationship to themselves. And that's why some story structure is designed to be the hall of mirrors, whereby you're looking at a reflection of yourself. Other characters come in and they're really a reflection of you, and then you examine yourself. And we might be able to say, look, really, that's the structure of story is for self-examination. But ultimately, I would go, no, we're social mammals, and the majority of what we think about ourselves is actually through relationships with other people, as this fairground mirror of us. Like, we put a lot of stock, apart from psychopaths, but even they put a huge amount of stock on what other people think of them. They're like socially aware completely. They just have less idea about how they feel about how other people feel about them, but they know it's important for their survival. Okay? So look, I'm not getting dragged into story structure of, yeah, but what about conflict and well, yes, of course, all drama is conflict. No, actually, drama is not conflict. Drama is doing. Yeah, and it used to be done in the theatre, which was known as the seeing place. So you went to see stuff done, and when the stuff was done, you had a better relationship with yourself through your understanding of how you relate with other people, because of the plot and the structure had caused somebody to meet with other people and cause you to think about your meetings with other people.
You talked about John Wright. Was
Yeah,
that his
John
name?
Wright. Yeah, yeah, John Wright.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit more about what makes a good mentor?
I think you have to be somebody for somebody else where you, the mentor, are absolutely certain. Okay. Absolutely certain. They've gravitated towards you because of that certainty. Yeah. And I think certainly my mentor, John, was incredibly harsh. If I came to him with an idea, and I might come to him with an idea like, this is what we should be doing, this is how it should be. I've solved it, John. Like, this is, and sometimes he would go, I'm just not interested in that. Just not interested. And I'd be like, damn, like, that is brilliant. It's brilliant what I'm talking about here. I'm just not interested. That's just not where I'm at the moment. And so I would then go, okay, well, then I'm going to follow that. I'm going to go for that. It's like, okay. And so, rather like happened today, Jamie, where I get quite passionate about, here's where I'm seeing AI, and you go, hey, so I agree with most everything. I've always agreed, but I push back on that. at that point I go, oh yeah, this is great. This is great because Jamie's got to that peer level where he's going, yeah, I don't think so. I think it's maybe this over here. And I'm thinking, well, I'm giving it my best here. I'm giving it my best. So if he's pushing back against this, maybe there's something there in the pushback. Maybe there's something there.
I want to interrupt
Yeah.
briefly because I think this, I also give you credit and I give myself credit. When we first met, I wasn't intimidated, but I was careful of how I came across because I wanted to come across in the best light because I probably wanted you to think well of me or think that I had enough value
Of
to sit
course.
at the tables that you invited me into with other speakers. But I think the relationship has evolved in my eyes where I feel that I can push back and you will respect that.
Right.
And so I feel like you've allowed that mentor relationship to be what I would call almost reverse mentorship, where you add value to me and maybe I add a little bit of value to you
Right.
too
But
at
you're
this
right.
point.
You have to come with the right respect at the start, else you're going to get nothing. Like with my mentor, John, I literally followed him around. I basically went, I'm going to learn everything that he knows because I just loved that work so much and I was good at it as well. And he told me I was good. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to follow that and get adept at that. And then there came a point where I go, I want to do this and I think this. And you go, I'm just not interested. That's not the thing. That's not the thing to do. I come to him with my sketches of stuff and go, look, I've drawn this diagram. This is how I think the universe works. And he'd be like, no, don't think so. Be like, no, I think it does. Like, I really think it does. So look, you part at a certain point for sure. You part at a certain point, and maybe you end up coming back and comparing notes and always with respect for the other person, but not necessarily agreement at all, because that won't move anything on. Agreement won't help, but acceptance and respect. But mentorship is it's a tricky thing, I think, because it's not this constant journey of you're always the mentor, always the mentee. If it works really well, there should be a breakup. There should be. That's the natural order of things. And some breakups could not be pleasant. They may not be, I would expect that. I would go if the role works, if the roles work really well, you could have a really acrimonious breakup
Can you expand on that briefly, why that might happen?
because the hope would be that you come up to the level of the person that's mentoring you. Like you want to be them so much that you come up to their level and then you find the next thing and they're not capable. They don't have enough time. They don't have the ideas. They're stuck in their ways now. And so you should be moving it on past that. And that can feel destabilizing for them. Or in your exuberance for the idea, you might be just rude and aggressive. I mean, I could see myself being that with a mentor, just rude and aggressive in the end and
Right.
going,
Yeah.
no, you're wrong. But it's not, but it's because you're so engaged in the idea. You've because you want to, the only reason you get a mentor is because you want to be better. You want to be so much more than you are. And so if you achieve some of that, it can get probably quite exciting. And that excitement can be hard to manage. So you might be rude and aggressive and breakups can happen.
And I think the mentors who have passed in my life, that level of transcendent effect and his ideas, his wisdom, his energy reverberated like the good witch throughout my life.
Yeah.
In this one period of my life, 3.5 years in New York, it's that unique relationship with a mentor that is, I think, has touched me on a deep emotional level,
Well, yeah.
uh, uh,
Well,
over and
I mean,
over again.
has touched you on a level that you are partly them. I mean, that's the reality. You are partly them. So when they die, it's like, damn, that's a bit, that's a bit of me that's that in that physical form outside of me is now gone. I mean, it's still there inside of me. My art teacher died just just recently. And I just a couple of days ago watched a video documentary that came out about him. And I've always known that he was an incredible influence, an incredible influence. But I'd never seen the fullness of the art that he was doing outside. And I looked at it and I went, those are the pictures that I used to do. Like he was like, I'm him. You know, you kind of went, damn, I'm partly him. I mean, he came first. So he influenced me to the extent that, and I thought it was just me. That was the clever thing about him. He was like, he got me to do brilliant art, but art that he loved as well. So he could be totally passionate about it because he loved the art. Yeah. And it felt very new to me. But the reality is he was brilliant at instilling the best of him into into me, you know. Listen, when it comes to business mentorship, I think possibly where it gets so tricky and hard is that mentorship is an incredibly complex thing, and you're used to, you have a whole history of working with very complex relationships. You were a school teacher. Like, there's probably nothing more complex than many people in a day, all with incredible relationships going on. You trying to manage yourself within all of that and manage them within all of that. You're kind of used to somewhat the complexity of relationships. And many people in business are not used to those complexities of relationships. They might be used to the system of things and the system of operations. Yeah. And mentorship is not the system of things and the system of operations. It's the complexity of relationship, which is muddy and gets dirty, gets tricky at times. Where you're in that situation of like, why do I hate my mentor? It's like, because you should at some point, because that's natural.
Mark, let's end with just along these lines. What's one trait that you have become or you have brought forth from John Wright and the art teacher into your work in your life today?
I'll give you this one because this is something that John taught me, and John said he got it from his art teacher. Okay, and his art teacher told him, make a choice, make it bigger, keep it tidy. Make a choice, make it bigger, keep it tidy. And the way John explained that to me is he said, look, you got to decide what it is you're doing. Yeah. And when you've decided that, understand nobody can see it. So it wasn't big enough. Like you're underdoing it. Like you're so far away from anybody being able to go, oh, I see what you're doing. Yeah. So whatever choice you've made, you got to make it so much bigger. Yeah. So it's visible to everyone. So make a choice, first of all. So that's not two choices or three, that's one. Then go, okay, nobody will even notice that. So now how do I exaggerate it, turn the volume up on it, make it bigger so people go, oh, I see the choice. And then keep it tidy. And keep it tidy meant when you've made that choice and make it bigger, a little voice will come into your head going, well, but they won't like it over there. So you should add a little bit of this to it because then that'll soften it for them. Oh, and those people over there, they like a little bit of this on it and a little bit of that, and that'll stabilize it a bit for them. And oh, by the way, maybe you could add a bit of this and a bit of that to it, and that would make it more. It's like, stop it. Like just as it is. Make a choice, make it bigger, keep it tidy. Don't add anything to it. Don't add anything to it. Yeah. And so that I tell my clients all the time. It's one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got. I constantly say when they say, what should I do? Well, make a choice, make it bigger, keep it tidy.
I love that. Make a choice, make it big, and make it tidy. I think that's a great place to end. So thank you for being a guest today on the Leadership Standard.
My pleasure. My pleasure, Jamie. It's always a great fun to have a conversation. I'll do it anytime with you. It always goes in an unforeseen direction, but a good one.